Sherry Graham Potter. I am the surviving spouse of Deputy Timothy Graham, who was killed in the line of duty August 10th, 2005. And I am currently married to Chris Potter, who is a police pilot for Tucson Police Department.
I'm Trudy Jacobson, and we are Great American Women.
My husband, Tim, I met him, I was managing a restaurant, and he was in the academy at the time, and we met in the restaurant. He would come in every night after he was through with his training for the day. And I was recently divorced. I had 2 little kids. Tim was just a really neat guy from Chicago, sort of working class background. Had come to Arizona. He was tired of being cold, and we just hit it off right away, became really good friends, and he graduated from the academy and we got engaged. We got married on July 9th, 2005, and on August 10th, 2005, he was in a foot pursuit with a mentally ill suspect who was trying to access vehicles that were at an intersection. He was trying to carjack to get away from Tim. And when Tim caught up to him, there was a struggle that ensued. A taxi cab driver pulled over, saw the struggle, stopped, tried to give some assistance to Tim, and the struggle fell into the road. A gentleman driving a truck did not see them, came over a little bit of a hill and hit and killed all 3 of them on the scene. Tim's lieutenant and a chaplain from the department came to my door that night trying to sort of beat the news cycle so I didn't hear it on the news. In doing so, they both came in unmarked vehicles and they were not in uniforms, and so I thought they were Jehovah's Witnesses at my door. It's funny now, it wasn't at the time, but so I argued with them at my door. I didn't need to hear what they had to say, so it was a bit of an exchange before they finally convinced me of who they were. And so they came in and told me Tim and I had only been married for 30 days. So it was pretty traumatic and really, really a difficult time in my life. Luckily, my kids were with Tim was not my children's biological father, but they had been visiting with their own father, so I called him and I met with them the next day. And they had become very, very close to Tim over the 4 years that we were together, and they were 7 and 10. They were pretty devastated. It was probably the hardest conversation I've ever had in my life. Losing your spouse at such a young age is one thing with young children involved, and it's very traumatic for everybody. But when it's a police officer, there's just a little bit of a difference in that. There's so much media involvement, and that was really difficult. There were media trucks parked around the corner from my house, and so trying to get pictures of us and my children, and it was very, very intrusive. You know, there were just people in and out, and just the newspaper, and that just made it all the more difficult because you just don't have any private time to grieve. And you have this whole agency and this department that's grieving along with you, which is understandable, but it makes it very, very difficult to have moments to yourself to just really process everything. So I think it sort of extends that process quite a bit. There's moments where it's so, your life is so filled with people in your house and everything, and then you have the funeral about a week later, and a couple days after that, everybody goes back to their life, which is understandable, but you kind of walk out your door and there's no more cars in your driveway, and all of a sudden you realize, I have to figure out how I'm gonna do this. I grieved so much, and there was so much inertia, I could not get moving. There was such a piece of me that was gone, and I didn't know what to fill it with, and so I just felt like I was coming out of my skin all the time. And really the only tasks I could seem to to do was what I had to do, get my children up for school, make meals, go shopping. But I had no life outside of that for a very long time. I finally just one day realized I had to move my body. I just needed to do something different. And so I reached into my closet and found a baseball hat. I think it was Tim's. I don't know. It was a Nike baseball cap. And so I threw it on and I went for a run, and it was horrible and I felt terrible, but I actually felt alive for the first time in so many months. I continued to do that day after day. And I started to feel better. When Nike came out with their advertising campaign that incorporated Colin Kaepernick, the tagline, when I heard that tagline, I was so infuriated. Because to talk about as a multi-million-dollar football player sacrifice that he had made and how important that was, it was just after what my husband had gone through and the price that he paid and the price that my family paid. In comparing that almost, it was so unfair, and it just infuriated me. So I sat down that night and just sort of wrote this Facebook post. I didn't really even think anything of it. It probably took me 5 minutes. But I sent it off, and then a friend of mine texted me and he said, "Can you make this shareable?" And so I did, and I woke up the next morning and it was everywhere. It was stunning. But it clearly resonated with a lot of people. And the fact that Colin was so anti-cop and had been so vocal about that and so supportive of really, really terrible anti-police movements, it struck such a chord with me, and I just really felt I needed to say something about that.
Hey everybody, it's Trudy Jacobson. Thank you for watching Great American Women. And thank you to the great ladies who have participated in this series. Now I'll let you get back to the show.
Chris Potter. Chris Potter and I, we went to high school together. We met when I was 14 years old. And we were very good friends all through high school. And he went into the Navy and we kind of lost touch. And then we both ended up getting married to other people, obviously. And, we very infrequently would run into each other. I knew he was on the department here. My husband was a deputy with a sheriff's department here. And when Tim died, I reached out to Chris because I just knew he would understand being in law enforcement. And so I left a message here at the hangar, I believe, and I got a phone call about 15 minutes later, and the only thing he said was, "I need your address." And in 20 minutes, he was at my door. He was amazing. He was amazing. I was struggling so much. And he had an 8-year-old son who was fit right in the middle of my kids, and he took my kids out, and he just helped us so much, healing in all of that. And we it was just like we were back in high school. That friendship just grew and grew, and here we are. We just celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary. All 3 of our kids are grown and married or engaged. We've got 2 grandchildren. So he's still working really, really hard. He loves the air support unit here. He's so supported by his chief now. That has made such a huge difference in both of our lives because, his work life is so very different. But we're just making plans for the future. He's talking about retiring at some point, and so things are really, really good. We all have that strength within us. And a lot of times you don't ever have to tap into it until you do. And when you do, I think you have to find your faith in yourself, but you also I have such a strong faith in God, and that has led me so much through so many things. Because Tim's death was horrible and it was so difficult, but I've had really, really big stuff since. And I learned a lot from Tim's death, but one of the things was that I have to trust in God, I have to trust in my faith, I have to trust in myself and my family, and just believe that nothing is too hard to find a way through. And every challenge helps you grow in so many ways. And there are so many blessings in these challenges and difficulties that you will look back on and find. My name is Sherry Potter, and I am a great American woman.
Thank you for watching Great American Women. If you or anyone you know would like to be considered for a Great American Women episode, contact us today. And don't forget to like, comment, and share. We look forward to hearing your story.